What's that? What do you got there?
Little lick to death. Mango chainsaw. Working on a partnership.
Listen to this. This is a killer little intro, eh? All right, welcome back to another episode of On the Throne with Dick. And big shout out to Senjin Boychuk there. You can find him on the socials. He's on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram, just, killing it with his riffs. And, he was a featured guest way back on like episode 12 or something like that, or 11. I don't remember which one it was, but it's back there and you can find it. It's the Guitar Hero episode. And, he's just killing it. And, today's guest, we have David Koch from the Bluecollar Angst Podcast. What's going on, man?
Not much, man. That's a sick intro. I was wondering about that, dude. Does he play just guitar and he just does a drum track separately, or he did it all?
So he has a band, and I know he does the guitar, and I'm pretty sure he said the drum was like just added in. But he's got a band. I don't think he used the band, but he the riffs are all him.
Nice. That's sweet.
Yeah, man. It's pretty badass anyway, and solid guy. He's not very big on the socials, but super talented dude. And I'm trying to get more people to go over and follow him and watch him. He's there. He's very what's the word I'm looking for? He's consistent. He posts not 24/7, but he posts like all the time. Yeah. He's really good stuff. He's from actually not too far away from where I am right now, so I should reach out to him and see if maybe we should get together, but whatever.
Nice.
Yeah. So how's it going with you?
Good, dude. Yeah, living life. Lucky enough to have a month off for my wife just had our baby, so it's been good to kind of work on the podcast full time. It's been awesome. It's been really
Congrats, man. That's huge. Boy or girl?
Boy. Yep.
Nice. How big?
So, shoot, he was 8 pounds, 1 ounce. He's a big boy, like 21 inches. So our little girl, she came pretty early, but she was like almost 6 pounds. So this was pretty cool to get like full term and experience like C-section and then like natural birth, which is wild. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Just a crazy experience. But yeah, dude, everything's good.
I have 2 daughters. My oldest was 5 weeks early and spent like 11 days in the NICU. Not all crazy, right? You're sitting there looking around. You're like, 11 days. Oh, this sucks. You look around. This kid's been in here for 8 months. This kid's been in here for almost a year. They've had open heart surgery. My daughter was just born a little early and had jaundice, right? And it really puts it into perspective for you. And she was 5 pounds at birth, man. I watched the whole thing, C-section. I watched the whole thing and lost 2 pounds in the NICU. So she was 3 pounds. And and then my oldest daughter, she was born at 38 weeks or 39 weeks. I think it was 39. And just over 8 pounds, I think, close to what your son was there. And came out kicking, screaming, C-section. I watched the whole thing again. I was right in there. I'm like, yeah, look at that. What was crazy was they ripped open the existing C-section scar. And you could hear the tearing, like, right? I was like, oh, right. And I had to watch. I'm like, hey, man, can I watch? He's like, hey, I gotta look after her. But if you faint, you're on your own. I can't get to you. And I'm like, that's cool, man. So I heard the tearing. They had to bring the table down. The doctor had to get in there, put her knee down, and like pull and get the suction out because my kid was holding on to the ribs for dear life and didn't want to come out. And little did I know, it's been 3.5 years. That was like a look into what the future was going to be. This kid is stubborn, bullheaded, and life is on her terms.
Yep. Dude, that's how my little girl is too. It's funny, like the C-section experience for a guy, like like a C-section, if you have one, I guess the doctor was saying like if you try a natural birth after, it's kind of like high risk, they call it.
Yeah.
But, I do the C-section. I was like, yeah, cool. Until I saw like the face shield. The doctor had like a legit face shield for the like if blood came up. And I look over and he started his cut and like the blood was on the face shield. And I just went sheet white, dude. I was like, they're like, get dad a chair. And, and it's cool to have the other experience like of the natural birth. But I tip my hat off to the ladies out there because that's a tough thing, dude. I can't imagine,
Yeah, man. even C-section, man. Like people call it the coward's way out or the easy way
No
out or
way.
whatever.
Yeah.
Man, not a chance, dude. Like
Mm.
you're getting your stomach ripped open. Sure, it's not like stretching you out or anything like that, but there's still shit down there that has to come out eventually, right? Because
Yeah.
the mucus plug, I think, comes out. I don't quote me on that.
Yeah.
I think it's the mucus plug. I think my wife was, when my daughter went to the NICU, she wouldn't stay in her room and recover, right? She refused. She's like, if my kid's not with me, I'm with my kid. So she kept coming out, and the doctor's like, hey, if you're not going to stay in this room, then we have to release you so someone else can use it. My wife's, get me the hell out of here. So my wife is sitting there in obvious pain, not doing well, and like just being with the kids. She goes to get out of the chair. This might be too graphic. Sorry, babe. She went and got out of the chair, and like blood just dripping, right? And it's like,
Oof.
oh man, really? Really? And then we went to the mall the next day for fucking lunch, went across the street from the hospital, and she's walking up, like the ramp is there at the food court to walk up the ramp. She took the stairs. Like, stop. We get it. You're a warrior. You're
Yeah.
tough.
Yeah.
You're tough. Stop that. Stop that. You're
Dude.
making me look bad over
Right.
here.
And you just like had like 2 hours of sleep that night and you're like, oh, my life is so hard, right? As a dad.
Yeah. I had to sleep in that uncomfortable chair, and she said her life was hard. Get out of here.
I know. No shit. No, it's funny. That's a good perspective, though. I never heard that. Like, my little girl, she went to the NICU too. And then she went to, she came home, and then a month later, she got life flighted in the helicopter to Salt Lake. And yeah, dude, it was like I think she was there for a couple weeks. It was scary. We didn't know if she was going to make it. And it's easy to kind of feel sorry for yourself in those moments, especially with like your kid, your firstborn. You're like, dude, this is your everything. Yeah. And same thing as you, man. Like I would see kids that were in there for a whole year, or little kids that had leukemia or, just open heart surgery, like you said. And I remember one time I was walking out of the hospital, kind of feeling sorry for myself, like the third or fourth day. And this mom, she had a special needs daughter. It was probably 14 or 15. And she was just running, dude, like frantic. And she was trying to carry her into the hospital. And I was just walking out, and there's a couple other guys that went and helped pick up this little girl. And she was like, help me, my baby, my baby. And that's always stuck with me, dude. Cause I mean, I don't know. I know not everybody has kids yet, or, and especially like the infertility stuff, right? Like that's a tough thing for a lot of people. And I try to be sensitive to that, but I think it's really easy for everybody to understand like that love that you have for a child or like a niece or a nephew, So yeah, it's cool that keeps me grounded a lot of the time, that experience.
Yep. I think being a parent in general keeps me grounded. Oh man, that is an experience. Like when we're all old and sitting around the old folks home, man, we're gonna be, right now we talk about childhood trauma and shit. When we're all old, we're gonna be talking about parenting traumas, like, oh man, one time my daughter came in, stared me in the eyes and shit on the floor. It was horrible, right? And like that true story happened a couple months ago.
Yeah.
They're potty trained and everything.
Telling stories in the nursing home, and the nurse is going to walk by like, holy shit, you had an abusive ex. You're like, that was my kid. That was my daughter,
Yeah. I made a video a couple years ago, actually. It was like my first year on TikTok. And I made a video. It's like a lot of you inspired me this year to stand up for yourselves and take back your freedoms, right? And, telling your stories of abuse and neglect and stuff like that. And it's inspired me to stand up to my abuser. Come with me on this journey as I stand up to my abuser. And I go in and I get the camera facing me, and I'm talking to someone. I'm like, you know what? I really don't like how you've been treating me these last few months. I feel like I'm a second class citizen in this house, and and it pans to my daughter, and she just goes, ah, and then she comes running up to me, and she throws her shoe at me, and then starts like tackling me and stuff. Like, it's
parenting, man.
It's parenting 101. Yeah.
Dude, I think the most accurate like reel I ever saw or meme, anger management with Adam Sandler, when the Cheerios, or when he like makes some eggs or something like that. He's like, he makes some eggs, he doesn't like them, he throws the plate at the wall. Jack Nicholson, I think it was, and he's like, I said over easy. Like, dude, my little girl's 5, and I'm just like, holy hell. It's at that point, you know what I mean, where she's about to start kindergarten, and it's just like, damn, But
Yeah.
at the same time, you're sad to see him go, which is just, it's such a weird like roller coaster, you know?
Yep, yep. I found out the other day, like my kids whine a lot, and that's a normal thing, I guess. But I thought my kids weren't normal there for a little while. like I was a little worried, and then they're actually out east right now on a vacation with my wife. They're going to visit family and stuff like that. And near Toronto, there's an amusement park called Wonderland. Don't know if you ever heard of it or not, but so like there's lots of rides there, big roller coasters. And man, when I tell you my kids are fucking cool, I'm telling you my kids are cool. Like I seen pictures and videos of them the last couple days there, and I'm like, fuck, these kids are cool, man. My 3-year-old, she wants to go on the big roller coaster. She's a ride warrior, an adrenaline junkie. And like I can't wait until she's just a little bit taller, a little older to go on that stuff. I'm going on with her. My oldest daughter, she went on all the rides she could, and she wanted more. It wasn't enough for her. And I'm like, these fucking kids are cool. Forget the whining.
Yeah.
That doesn't exist no more. These kids want to go on roller coasters.
That's so cool, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, we went to Disneyland in November last year, and we went to like the I think it's like the Marvel Land, wherever all like the adult theme shit is, right? Like Iron Man, Spider-Man, like all that stuff, and like the Star Wars area. And we went in this, it was for Guardians of the Galaxy, and they had a minimum height thing for the kids. So I was like, oh shit, like that's pretty low, like it's okay, And I've never done these rides. I'm cool with roller coasters, but it was one of the drop rides.
Oh yeah.
And at the elevator, dude, it was like straight up, straight down. My little girl's 5. I mean, she's like up to my elbow, like she's pretty small, but dude, I thought I was going to die. I was so scared, and like she handled it like a champ, but like my dad was pushing, they came with us, and yeah, dude, it was some of those rides though, like little kids, there's a bunch of little kids getting on it. And I'm like, damn, these are some badass kids. Cause me, even as a grown man, like if I would have known that ride was that, I thought it was going to be like that Star Wars or that space ride at, it's really chill, but no, dude, it was like a straight drop ride.
Space Mountain.
Shit. What's it called?
Is it Space Mountain?
It's probably Space Mountain. Yeah, I think so. It's, you get buckled in. It's like everybody's in the same.
Yeah, I think it's Space Mountain. I've been to Disney World. I've been to Disney World a bunch, but I haven't been to Disneyland before.
It's pretty cool, dude. I think next time we go, which we just had a newborn, right? Which is like, damn, you reset that the clicker. Yep. But like the Pixar Land, their California Adventure Park that's tied to it, we bought the dual pass, but it was. We went there our last day, and I'm like, shit, we should have been here the whole time. Like, it was pretty cool,
We're trying for 2 more, so one more for sure. We have 2 daughters. I want a boy. Actually, after their roller coaster experiences, I don't even care if it's a boy or not. The girls are just as cool, and I don't really care if it's a boy. As long we're not whole yet. We feel we're not whole, and I didn't want kids ever. My wife wanted 6, so I met her. I met her in the middle somewhere, and we had 1, and it was like, fuck, we got to do this again. So like we had 2 and 3. If the next one's a boy, maybe we cut her. But if the next one's a girl, we try one more time. And if they're all girls, so be it. I don't really care. But yeah, we're going to probably stop around 4. So that'll be good for me. Yeah.
Dude, it's wild, man. Like I kind of brought up the infertility stuff. Like I know a lot of people, you probably do yourself, and I mean, so my girl's 5 years old, Peyton is 5 years old. And then Dawson, our son that was just born, that 5-year gap, it's like that same thing where it's like, you can sit there and like going through the infertility process. Like we went into a clinic, and we were going to do like the IVF and all this super expensive shit that was like above my head. The doctor was like wearing red Doc Martens, and he's like, we're going to freeze this and put this in a microwave. And I'm sitting there like, this seems kind of weird, man. Like, I don't know about this, And then like, so we get tested, and like me and Ash both get tested, my wife. And then before we even get the results back on like what's going on, my birthday on November 18th, my wife showed up to my work for lunch, and she's like, she called me out. I was in the parking lot, and she had a pregnancy test inside this shirt that said like the man behind the bump. And I was like, what the hell? Like, what is this?
Oh yeah.
And dude, that's how I found out. It was pretty cool to like, but at the same time, like having those friends that like feeling sorry with that 5-year gap. And then like thinking like, dude, I got buddies that have been trying for years, you know what I mean? Or
Yep.
like the miscarriages, like how hard that is on different people. So I try to be sensitive to that, you know, a little bit. And
Yeah.
I think my wife is a lot better at that, you know, thinking through that stuff. But girls are more sensitive to most shit anyways than guys.
That's true. My wife has PCOS, so she's got cysts on her ovaries, and we've been together for almost 20 years now. We're 34 and 35, so we've been together for almost 20 years and married for 11 this year. And we didn't think she'd ever be able to have kids because of the PCOS, right? And so she couldn't find a doctor that would listen to her for the life of her. And then she finally found one that listened and got on these meds and whatnot. And one day that miracle happened. She came in and she had what was that? It was the Toronto. I'm a big hockey fan, big Toronto Maple Leafs fan. She brought me a Toronto Maple Leafs soother and a positive pregnancy test. I'm like, hell yeah, right?
Yeah.
I remember that because I was off on had an appendectomy. My appendix ruptured, so I was off for that. And all I needed, I work away a lot, so all I needed was to be home for a little bit, and it worked, right? And then when we found out she was pregnant with our second daughter, we were getting ready to move across the country, and I was staying behind to work here, and she was going back east, and so we were trying, and then she's like, "Hey, let's table this until later, right? We'll reconvene at another time." And so I'm like, okay. So one morning I wake up in the hotel room here, and she had sent me a text message at like 3 a.m, and it's a positive pregnancy test. Well, I guess so much for tabling that idea, right? And just same thing, just super excited. And my dad was the kind of person who wasn't afraid to tell his kids that he didn't want to be a dad. He didn't want to have kids, right? And he wished he would have waited, yada yada yada. Me, my kids, man, we tried, we wanted them, and we really gave her the old college try for a while until it worked, and they're wanted, and they always will be wanted. And so
yeah, it's funny, dude. Like our first was a surprise. I guess both were a surprise, but I used to make jokes like insensitive or whatever, but I still kind of feel like this. Like you'd hear people like, yeah, we're trying, like people are all vocal about that. And it's so funny. Like when you're dating, that's like the forbidden shit to talk about with your family. And then you get married, even if it's like 2 weeks, and then they're like, you guys banging it out tonight? And you're just like, holy hell, dude. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, yeah, dude, it's a cool thing. And honestly, it's a miracle. Like every childbirth, man. And the nurses and everybody. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's a cool experience. And yeah.
How old are you?
I'm turning 30 in November.
30. All right, so you're a little bit younger than me, but you're still a millennial, right?
Yeah.
So and you're from Utah.
I'm actually I was born in Oakland, California, Hayward, the Bay Area, and moved to Denver when I was 5, and I grew up south of Denver in Colorado, in Colorado Springs. I came out here to go to school and met my wife in Provo, Orem, Utah.
You got the Mormon fever, right?
Got the Mormon fever. Well, dude, I knew a bunch of dudes from Utah, and like all of their sisters were just like gorgeous. You know what I mean? Like girls in Colorado are pretty cute, but like I will say there's some pretty girls in Utah. And
nice.
So that kind of made the decision easy. So I met my wife on her first day of college too, which was her parents like dropped her off, and every Friday I did like a bonfire up in the canyon, Provo Canyon. And yeah, dude, it was like my 7th or 8th time doing that. And then I saw her and I thought I recognized her from high school. And I was just like, hey, are you from Colorado? That's like the first thing I said to her. And she's like, no, I'm from here. And I was like, well, you want to go to a bonfire? And she's like, when is it? I'm like, in like 10 minutes, we're about to leave. I was just knocking on a couple people's door, like, hey, last call. And she's like, yeah, if I'm there, I want to be there. And I was like, shit. You know what I mean? She was cute. Yeah. So yeah, dude, she came up, and dude, we went like 2 or 3 years, like every single day we saw each other. So lucky for that,
Is she Mormon?
Yeah, she is.
Nice.
So, but I mean, the bonnet, I got over the bonnet really quick. No, I'm just kidding.
It looks real good on the floor, right? The bonnet.
Yeah, the bonnet looks good on the floor. And that's the thing, like being from Colorado, I guess not knowing everything about Utah, and I've talked about this on Blue Collar Angst before. It's like it's a cool place. It's a unique place. Like I think I've seen more Mennonite people, which they kind of look the same.
Yeah.
And we had some of those in like Colorado up in the mountains, but yeah, dude, they're really good people out here. I do think it's pretty sheltered, like white suburbia. Like
Yeah.
I hear some jokes sometimes and I'm like, shit, dude, I would have never said that, because even like going back to visit like my family in California, dude, like you don't talk shit. Otherwise you're going to fight. You know what I mean? Or even Denver and Colorado Springs was pretty tame too. But yeah, dude, I think Utah's it's a beautiful place. It's super cool. But yeah, I don't think we'll be here forever. But
My wife and I, we've taken a couple trips to Salt Lake City. We're big fans of Salt Lake City. One of our favorite places to travel to, actually. We're big fans. We like Park City,
Park City, yeah.
Park City. We traveled to Park City, went down the Alpine Coaster, and toured all around there. And Salt Lake City is a great spot. We went to the big Mormon temple in town there. We just walked around. I wanted someone to ask me, like. I don't know what they say, but we stopped in at a gas station. Buddy, it's like, oh, because we drove, so it's like, hey, where's Alberta? I'm like, um, it's north. And Kenny's like, yeah, I know. He's like, I was on a mission there once. He's like, used to work in the oil field, which is what I do. He's like, yeah, man, I used to work the rigs for a little while. Then before or after his mission, before he came home, he got a job in the oil patch and was there for a couple of years. So yeah,
Cool.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
right.
No, it's so. Speaking of, the Blue Collar Angst podcast, like, how did that start, and what's it about, and why, and
I think so. I've told a few people this. I've never really like gone vocal about it, really. But so I had a buddy at work. I work for Nucor still. I work for one of the divisions. They're a pretty big company, biggest steel company in the U.S. So they have like mills, micro mills, sheet plate, bar mills. So we take the raw material from that, like the coiled steel, hot rolled steel, and the flat bar. And where I'm at it's called Buildings Group. We actually like make the structural steel, like the columns and the rafters for it. But so I've been working there for about 5 years. I quit, went and did real estate for a minute with my mom, came back. That was kind of a shit show of a thing, like I had my real estate license in Utah and in Colorado. And I was like, man, let me give this a try. It seems really cool. Like the freedom is really what kind of like drove that, but I was never one of those guys that like wanted my face on the bus stop, like,
yeah,
hey, buy a house for me. And then like going out there and doing it, going to like the conventions, and like you'd go to like these nice ass hotels and go meet all these douchey realtors. And usually the women were pretty cool, the lady realtors, but dude, I just met some real assholes, and it was just like, it seemed so like ungenuine, a lot of the interactions that I was having, and not really my thing, like I love to talk to people and meet people. I think I'm more like on like a one-on-one level, and then like, let's all create like our group of friends together. But that's more of like a, hey, let's all shake each other's dicks. I don't know how to say it, but like, that's what it felt like.
yeah,
So, but yeah, come back to Utah to work at Nucor, in America, in the United States. I don't know how Canada is, but like healthcare, right? Like health insurance is a big deal. So like not having it, it's just expensive. So I think that was a big factor in coming back to, like, we were paying self-insurance and we were paying a lot of money every month, dude. And it's funny because like even paying that much money every month, you'd go to a doctor for like a checkup for my little girl, and you'd be like, oh, we're self-pay, or we have this insurance. And they're like, oh, it's not through a company. And you're like, no, it's not. And then they're like, like they treat you like you're like a piece of shit. It's kind of weird. But like I paid double what I pay now, with the company. But so that's kind of what sparked me to come back here to Nucor and work. And they've been really good with me. And I worked with a guy, and we both liked punk music, punk rock.
yep,
And I liked NoFX, the band NoFX, and he loved them. And we worked right by each other. So he was cutting it on a plasma cutter. My job was like the web line was to seam it together with a track seamer and measure, verify, tag, send it down the line type thing. And anyways, we're just listening to punk music one day, and I play guitar and he plays guitar. And Bluecollar Angst, it's kind of funny. I don't know if you can see it, probably not in the recording. There was a bathroom sign that I have back here. And on the back of it, I flipped it over. Let me see if I could turn this really quick. That one right there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I see it. Yeah.
On the back side of that, I wrote Bluecollar Angst one day. NoFX has a song called All Out of Angst. And it hit me one day. I was like, dude, we should make a band and just like start like talking shit about all the stuff that happens to us at work. Kind of like your content, like the funny humor side of it. And that's like the first time I heard Bluecollar Angst. That's when it popped into my head. And I wrote it in paint marker on the back of that bathroom sign. And it kind of sat there for a couple months. And then it kind of turned into like, we would just go back and forth, dude, like joke about different things of the day, right? Like whatever pissed us off that day. And it was funny stuff. And I was like, dude, we should make a podcast. This would be funny. And my buddy, Zach is his name. He's like, what should we call it? And I was like, dude, Bluecollar Angst, you know? And it just like from there, dude, it just started. So I started it and it was called like Work Horror Stories was my tagline, you know?
Yeah.
And I've changed it since to Blue Collar and Real Life Stories you can tell the world. Because it's just turned into its own thing, man. It's like organically, you know, like I thought it was going to be one thing. And then it's just this, you know, this effort of everybody trying to share their wisdom. And there's still funny stuff on it. You know, I love that. Like people share funny stories. But yeah, so Zach was going to be a host with me. And it's kind of like a weird hierarchy thing with Nucor. And he's like, dude, we need to get, so we don't get fired, right? For talking shit. He's like, we need to get permission before we do this. And he texted me like the day before we were going to record. And I was like, dude, I'm not asking anybody for permission. Like, I'm just not, you know, like I was stubborn. Angst, right? I had a lot of angst. I'm like, no, dude, like, you're not going to tell me what I'm going to do. Like, let's just do it. Who cares?
Yeah. You spend most of your life working under them and listening to what they want you to do and how they want you to be. And, you know, you spend all your time conforming to their image of you. And this is one time that you get to do something for you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like the one time you can just, it's almost like art or music to me, like a podcast. I'm sure you feel the same way.
Hell yeah.
You do whatever you want, just like your intro, which is cool. You know, like it's different. It's your own. And nobody can tell you what to do. Kind of like the real estate and freedom thing, man. Like I wanted to have that freedom or the creative freedom. And but yeah, so that kind of went down. And then Zach kind of backed out. He's like, you know, he's been at Nucor for a lot longer than me. And he's like, I don't want to compromise my job. And I was like, I get it, whatever. So I went on and I was planning on just doing it by myself. And then Connor, who was actually one of my good buddies, you know, he's down in Arizona. He hit me up. He texted me when I posted a picture of Bluecollar Angst and he said, hey, new podcast coming soon. Can't wait. Please send in your stories to stories@bluecollarangst.com. And he's like, dude, asshole, why don't you tell me about this? I wanted to be a part of this. And that's how he got on. And he was on for the first 14 or 15 episodes.
I've heard a couple of episodes, and yeah, he's on them.
Yeah. And it was so fun, dude. It was cool. And I think it was a little tough to work with like two schedules, you know?
Yep.
Especially like 3 different time zones. So like I'm here in Mountain Time, he's in Arizona on whatever the hell time they're on. And then you got people in Texas, or we had guests in Georgia, California. So it got confusing a few times, but yeah, for the most part, it was smooth and it was good. And then, one day he's just like, dude, he was getting a promotion at work, a potential promotion. He's like, I got to really double down on my job. And I was like, dude, I'm not going to like twist your arm to stay, you know? And I scrambled. I was like, shit, what do I do? You know? And, yeah, but long story short, it's working out really good. You know, I got guests booked out now into December.
Yeah, that's what you were saying earlier. Yeah, so that's good, like, for you.
It went from like recording on a Saturday morning, you know, and like texting 3 people and getting 1 commitment, recording on a Saturday, staying up all Saturday night, working all Sunday on an edit and releasing it on Monday, to, you know, recording earlier in the week and having a couple in the bank. So kind of like you got right now, right? Like you got guests lined up. And
yeah, I have for August, I have 2 more that you know, every Tuesday, right? I have a schedule. So every Tuesday they come out, and August all about the blue collar ladies. So, they don't get their fair shake. So, we're I think 37, 38 episodes deep into it by the time this one comes out, and only 6 up until this month where we're women, right? So I get the women out. They got good stories too. And, the one that just dropped yesterday is doing amazing. And, we got 2 really exciting episodes coming out to end the month off with. So I'm pretty excited. And then we have uh so right now we have 4. This will be 5 in the bank.
It's weird though too. Like once you start getting them in the bank, it's hard to like decide who goes first, right? Like who's going to get released first.
I put them out in order that I record them.
Yeah, that's the way I do it too.
Yeah. At one point I had 7 in the bank, and I'm like, that was 7 weeks, and I stopped recording for a month because, just it's kind of getting that way right now too, where if I talk about something that happened like a couple days ago, it's no longer relevant in 7 weeks, right? It's like, so I try not to do that too much, but I got a really busy time in my schedule coming up, and I don't know when I'm going to get to record. And so, I record basically whenever I can. Like there's been a few episodes where like, hey man, you down to come on the podcast? Yeah, dude, when do you want me? When are you available? 20 minutes? I'm in, let's go. Right.
Yeah.
And there's my night. And it helps because I'm either right now I'm in a hotel room, right? I'm not away from my family. I've got nothing else to do at night except for watch TV. My kids go to bed at 8. My wife goes to puts them to bed. And then when, I'm like, hey, I'll call you when I'm done recording, right? She's like, okay, cool. And she supports this. She loves this. She likes to listen to this kind of stuff too. So so yeah, that's it, man. Fucking
it's like today though, dude. Like it was cool. I was, with my little girl, I took her out of the house, little baby brother's crying all the time. So I took her out, and then you messaged me on Instagram and you're like, hey dude, like how about tonight? And I was like, shit. Yeah, I guess we could make that work, and I like that. Like, it's like that beggars can't be choosers mentality. I've always liked that mentality, but, I've always said that about a lot of other people, but I felt like that dude at the start of the podcast. Like, dude, I'll take anybody, and I still will. Like something. I don't want to like put like anybody over anybody else. You know what I mean? Like, this guy has so many followers, or because that's another reason I started it, because I felt like, and this is not a knock on like all the big podcasts like Joe Rogan. I still listen to it all the time, but I just felt like I was listening to like whoever it was. And I'm like, I can't really relate to that,
Yeah, like you're listening to like elitists or like people that have like their doctorates or something like that, or a scientist somewhere. And that's sort of why I did it as well, like so, and I don't go off of follower count or anything like that. It don't fucking matter. If you've got a good, cool story, I think that other people want to hear, or especially me, I want to hear it. Right. Then, I'll take you. I had someone with, I think 11 million followers on TikTok and 20 something million followers across the internet and then I had Senjin Boychuk, who has 200 followers on TikTok and like 80 followers on YouTube, and then, you get a couple with a couple 100,000 or 20,000 or 3,000. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? I have a series on TikTok on my main TikTok account called On the Throne with Dick. And I started that like 2 years ago. And it's just 1 minute long segments of me interviewing people while we're both taking a shit. And, so, and you can't really get much out of people in a minute. Right. Yeah. So when I was trying to figure out the name for a podcast, I'm like, well, On the Throne with Dick, I already have it, right? Yeah. And we can turn that into, well, let's get to know these people. Let's peel back those layers. Let's find out more about the people that we only see in 30-second long or minute long clips on the internet, right? You don't know anyone that you're talking to or not talking to. You don't know the people that you're watching their videos. All you know is they make videos. That's how you know they're funny. They're not funny. You relate to them. You don't. And this here gives you like an hour and a half. I've done up close to 3 hours before. 3 hour long look into who they are and what makes them go. You know what I mean? And that is cool, man. I like having conversations. I'm a talker, if you haven't noticed. I like to talk. Yeah. And when other people talk, like, and this is partly why I don't plan and why I go by the seat of my pants, right? Because you can't run into someone on the street and like know an hour from now that you're going to run into that person and have this big conversation planned. You run into each other, you catch up, you find out how each other have been, what's new with them, what they got going on, and then it's like going for a hike down a walking path. You're going down this trail and you see another trail, and you're like, I wonder what's down that trail. So you go down this trail, and when you're going down that trail, you see another one. You're like, fuck, where's this one going to take me? It's like having a conversation, man.
Yeah.
You never know where we're going to go on this podcast. We talk a lot of men's mental health or mental health in general. We get off the rails with Pokemon a lot. We talk about anything, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And a lot of it has been blue collar, because that's my background and that's my niche on the internet, and that's who I surround myself with, is other blue collar people. So like, it's been mostly blue collar, but there have been guys who aren't, or gals that aren't blue collar, right? They got a cool story. I want to hear it.
That's why I changed it from like that work horror stories, because it really wasn't, nobody wanted to talk shit, which is cool. Like I said, it turned into its own thing, blue collar angst, but I didn't want to limit it to just like blue collar guys,
Yeah.
And like I had an accountant on, you know how podcasts go. Sometimes recordings get messed up. I have to re-record with him. That's why it's good to have like stuff in the bank. But it's cool to even hear like that story. And, I talked to a younger kid the other day, and he was talking about like, I don't know if I have much to offer, dude, and that's something I've always told, like, dude, like you're saying, everybody has such a cool story. And that's one cool thing I appreciate. And I think I try to do this on my podcast as well. But like, what we spent the first 15 minutes talking about C-sections and, but it's so true. Like there's these like little like grid points or like changes in the hiking path. Cause like you think of something and then somebody says something else and you're like, oh, I guess we're going this way. But it's just a natural flow of things. And that's why I love it.
Yep. Yeah. And exactly, man. You know what I mean? Like we had a conversation about that. I think we'll call it backstage, where I recorded a podcast. It's happened a couple times, where the person is nervous. I can tell they're nervous. They've never done it before. So they're like, well, I don't think I have anything to say or do. Well, that's my job to keep it flowing. Your job is to listen to me say something to you, and then you be like, oh, I have something for that. So, hey, you don't worry about keeping it entertaining. That's me. I do that. I joke around a lot and I fuck around a lot. And man, I will really dig deep if I have to. I will go to the depths of hell to make it entertaining. I can't record and it be so boring that nobody wants to listen to it, or I can't listen back to it and be like, oh, I can't post that. Right? We're not going there. I'm not wasting your time, and I'm not wasting my time like that.
Yeah.
We're gonna make it worth it. We're gonna have a good time. It might start off a little rough, might end up a little rough in the middle somewhere, but in the end, we're gonna figure this out. We're gonna find our way.
Yeah. And it's funny too, man. Like when you first start out, I don't know if you felt like this, but like when I got to like 10 minutes, or like when you're recording and you're like, holy shit, we've been talking for an hour. And then you're like, damn, I can do this. It's like that 90%. I've been saying this a lot. Like my dad always used to say, like 90% of everything is just showing up, right? Like you're scared to go in the oil field, or you're scared to go to work, or you're scared to go cut a piece of wood when you just got your first construction job with a, chop saw. If you can just show up and have the balls and the courage to do that, or like with the podcast, it's cool, man. Cause like that's literally 90% of everything. The other 10% will make up for itself. And it's tough when you got guests that you're like, I've had some recordings, and I'm not knocking any guests at all, but like when you're like 5 minutes in and you're like, holy shit, dude, you're looking at the time and you're like, how am I going to make this like 10 minutes,
Yeah.
But then that's your job. Like you said, it's your job as a host, like bring it out. And I mean, everybody has such a cool story, and you can pull 5 people in a room and they're all going to have a different spin on one issue. And I think that's like why Joe Rogan's so successful. And it's like a non-judgmental space. And, even if I don't agree with some stuff, or if you hear some crazy shit, sometimes you're like, I can't put that in there. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I'll throw that to like the Comedy Cellar or something, but it's fun. It's so fun to do. And yeah, it's a unique thing,
Do you know who Theo Von is?
Yeah.
Dude, I just discovered this guy. Like, I'm in love. I have an unhealthy obsession with Theo Vaughn. I'm listening to all his podcasts right now. And like when I was messaging you, I was listening to one of his, and I'm like, okay, well, okay, if I'm gonna have him on tonight now, I should go listen to the Blue Collar Angst podcast, right? And so I went there, and I'm like, okay, which one do I want to listen to first? Well, number one, let's start there, right? And then after that, it was like, where do I want to go next? Well, the trade school versus college episode is what drew me in, right? And I'm like, we literally just had this conversation like a couple weeks ago about this. So, and yeah, and you guys had basically the same viewpoints on that as I did, and you're not knocking it, but you're not knocking it either, right? And it's
Dude,
it's
it's
uh it's an interesting conversation to have with a lot of people. It's like the union non-union
yeah,
conversation, right?
yeah. Are you union up there in Canada? Do they?
I'm not union. There
No.
are lots of unions, but me personally, I do not like unions. I was a part of a union. I don't like that. I like to work hard, and I like to work hard, and I don't like having a guy next to me that isn't working hard that's protected. Right? You know what I mean? Like this guy just shows up and puts in 10%, and he has a job, and then I'm given 100, and he makes the same I do. You know, um, so at my job, I run equipment, I labor, I do everything they need me to do. I'm just a cog in the wheel. Whatever they need me to do to make the day work, I do it for them, right? I run my official title is equipment operator. So like, but if you need me, you're gonna pay me what you pay me to be an equipment operator to like labor. Cool, man. I don't care. Those
Yeah.
guys are making like $10 less an hour than I am, and I'm out there and I'm giving it more than they are. And I understand that you can't expect someone to, um, you know, the kind of money they make. I get it. I made it too, but I have a different mentality. I guess I wanted more, so I saw more, and I'm like, okay, well, if I do really really good here, I'll get more, and that was my mentality. That's not everyone's mentality. So, um, and I was on site one day, and I jumped out of my equipment and I started doing some labor work, and then I did the labor stuff and I jumped back in my equipment. I was just running around. There are a couple good old union boys sitting there watching, and they're like, you know, if you were a union, they'd have a guy to do the labor shit while you were in the equipment. You wouldn't be doing that. And I'm like, yeah, well, I'm more versatile and more valuable to my company this way here, right? I don't care. It doesn't bother me none.
It's funny because like even that dude, like these little hierarchy clicks, like I'm an equipment operator, like I'm not gonna go pick up a shovel. Like even non-union guys are like that. And I've always hated that. And
Yeah.
like I was gonna bring this up too, like the city worker stuff. And I think a lot of it's like misunderstanding, but there's still a lot of like people that just kind of want to coast. And I don't like that mentality either. I think that's why I'm so like okay with I've never been union. A lot of people are like, oh, the union will protect you, and they will, right? In certain aspects. But at the same time, dude, I mean, if you're in a job that's non-union and if you're not going to be safe at that job, just get the hell out. It's
Yep.
not worth it. Like go
Yep.
find another contractor, another project to work on. But yeah, I don't know about the pros and cons. I was going to say though about city workers um, and this whole trade school versus college thing. So like I know like my sister, for example, dude, like she graduated with a 4-year degree. Um, and she's like getting job offers for like 50, 60 grand. You know what I mean? And it just blew my mind. And then on that same note, on my wife's side, my brother-in-law, he did everything right, I think, in my opinion, if you're going to go to college. Like he worked his ass off in the summer, landscaping. I think he had like maybe $5,000 or $10,000 worth of debt at the end of a master's degree. So he went for
Nice.
5 years. And I mean, he paid that off super quick too, like within the year. So like that's doing it right. But the funny thing is, so like he had a master's degree in civil engineering, I think it was, or some engineering, but he was basically, he worked for a company, super white collar engineer. And they did cool stuff. Like I think he designed the San Jose Sharks Stadium.
Oh, that's cool. The
That's pretty cool.
SAP Center. The
Yeah.
SAP Center. That's
Which
cool.
is pretty badass. I was like, dude,
The
that's so
Shark
cool.
Tank.
Yeah.
That's
So
cool.
that's cool. But then like it's funny because like he did that for like 5 or 6 years, once he was married. And then he just switched over and he got like a director of public works for a city. And some guys would be like, that's not blue collar. And it's like, dude, they're out there, like, he's red, has red, man. Like, his neck is red, his arms are red. Like, he's out there working, and he's making like 20 grand more than he was as an engineer, dude, like being outside working. And he honestly didn't even need his degree. It probably helped. But honestly, I mean, that's the one thing that I look at when people are like, oh, you got to go to college. And, we got a big giveaway going around right now. Mike Ewing's back to school giveaway. And you can find it on Bluecollar Angst, Western Welding Academy, all these different sponsors. But it's really to help promote the shop and ag programs, and just bring awareness to it. We even had some guys from Canada comment in and go through the official rules. And I don't know. I think kids, like, I know at least me going through high school, if your school's not out in the country, or if it's like closer to the city or whatever it may be, you're not going to have a pretty good shop program, or you're going to go get bussed out like 40 minutes to some school, So I don't know. I think there needs to be more options like that for kids, and I think we're seeing a lot more of that, like a revolution back to the roots of, what blue collar was and how to train kids in it, which is really cool.
There's a lot of blue collar pride going on right now, and the internet's helping with that. You know what I mean? Like, hey, don't be afraid to get your hands dirty. You know what I mean? Don't look down on the people doing it either. So my thing with the whole trades and college thing, and I've talked to the CEO of some companies, and I've talked to like bosses and shit like that. You know what the only thing a 4-year college degree or however long it is good for or whatever. You know what the only thing it's good for? The only thing an employer wants to see when you go through that much college and pay that much money to do it. So the whole reason why you're going to college is to prove to a prospective employer that you were willing to commit to something for 4 years, show up every day, learn, and you know what, you were committed to it. And paying the money shows the commitment, and showing up every day shows the commitment. Other than that, it ain't good for nothing. Right. Yeah, it's crazy. It's
Dude,
crazy.
it's so true. I was going to say commitment, right? Like, they're looking for, or are you committed? But what are they going to see on your job history, right? For 5 years, 6 years, like, oh, he's been with this oil field company for 5 years. Like, he's obviously committed.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've seen my dad, like, he worked for Quest, or CenturyLink it is now, like the internet company. And like, he was I remember, he was digging ditches, like the green boxes on the side of the roads. I remember like bringing him lunch or dinner if he was working late. And it's just funny, dude, because like, he did get a degree eventually. And he's now, I guess, more upper management, and he's done well for himself. But he tells me all the time, like, there's still guys that are up there with him that didn't do that didn't get a degree, and it's just, I think, kind of like what you do with your job and what a lot of people do that listen to these podcasts, just doing that little bit more, right? And it's all about pride and integrity, man. Like, if you can just have a little bit of pride and be like, because like, when you look at something on your job site and you're like, shit, that sucks, I don't want to do that, this needs to be done, and then you just do it, like, that's having pride, and that's a big asset.
I've been here for 8 years. Okay. In the wintertime, I work on a vac truck in the oil field. In the summertime, during the last downturn, I had to keep busy. So in the summer, I got a job working road construction, right? So, and I did that. I've done this for 8 years now. I go there in the winter, I come here in the summer, and I built something here. So I stay. I went from being a laborer on the ground, raking out the asphalt and the gravel, chasing that paver, to, running the equipment, right? And I can do everything on this crew. Anything you need me to do. My boss calls me a utility knife. I go and I do it. Hey, I need you here today. Okay, cool, man. Whatever. Wherever you need me, I'm there. I got you. And he's like, okay, cool. And he leaves me the fuck alone. He doesn't ever like micromanage or boss me around or whatever, because he knows when I'm there, it's getting done. Right. So I've been here for 8 years. I've been on the vac side of things for 5 years. I'm committed, right? I'm there. I'm not going anywhere. You know what I mean? And they know that. And yeah, I work with, pro college. Let's talk about pro college here for 1 second. I work with a couple, or a lot of people actually, who work between here and the oil field, they work to put themselves through college so they don't have any debt, right? There's a girl here who was 19 when I met her. She was going to school to be a brain surgeon, right? And she'd spend her summers here on the road, go back to school, put herself through college, university, whatever. And it got to the point where she looked at the long road ahead and the debt, which she didn't have much of because of this. But she's looking at the long road ahead, and she's like, man, maybe I make more money here than I do as a brain surgeon, right? So she put the brains, the I don't know what kind of school, brain surgery school, I don't know what the fuck it's called. So she put that on hold for a semester, I think she did. And I think she realized that, brain surgery is where she would rather be. So she's back doing that now. But and then the one girl, she just left. Like, I've worked with her for 8 years here, and she's gone now. Like, she left last week. She's done. She put herself through school to be a teacher. And this past July, she applied for a job as a teacher, and she was only going to go for do her first year as like a substitute, be a substitute, work around a little bit. She got a job at First Nation school here, Native American, and she got herself a full-time permanent position as a teacher. And today, actually, she got access to her classroom, and I'm gonna miss her. She has been one of my favorite people to work with over the last 8 years, and now she's gone.
Dude, do they make pretty good money up there, teachers in Canada?
So I think she said to start, had she done one more year of school, she would make 20 grand more. That's right. So she's at 60K right now. She's starting 60K, and I don't know if she wants me to talk about it, but fuck it, I'm doing it anyway. Sorry, Shelby. She's making 60K. One more year of school would have been 80, but she's like, I couldn't do another year of school. I just couldn't do it. So she's like, I'll work my way up to that 20K, the old fashioned way, I guess. So
Yeah, dude, it's brutal. I feel like a lot of people too. I know I've done it. Like I was enrolled. I can't tell you how many times like start college and then I go and I'm like,
yep,
take a 2-year break, right? And like you get in this cycle where it's like you just keep going and then you get your school paid for. At least this is how I've done it, and then I think I have like 32 college credits right now where I sit. And I was not that I'm dumb, but I had a terrible GPA in high school. Like I just didn't give a shit. I just wanted to be with my friends, make everybody laugh. And I think when you're paying for it, it definitely throws a different spin on it. But
yep.
yeah, dude, I look at like some of those like jobs, like going out. I went back out to Colorado for my little sister's graduation, and I don't know if she's going to care if I talk about it either, but she went and she has a psychology degree. I don't know how much school debt she's in or what that looks like. It's none of my business, but she goes to, it was UCCS in Colorado Springs. And, I think last I heard, now she's working as like a land officer in a bank. And I can't tell you how many people I know. Like my wife used to work at a bank when we first got married. And like, that was just like a 10-year thing, kind of like you're talking about, right? Like you're either going to make your money like with a degree and have that added experience, or you're just going to have that tenure and you're going to be like, oh, you're getting your raises, you're getting your, in increments. And
Yep.
it's such a tough thing. And I'm not here to, like, you see like some dudes like Theo Vaughn talked about it, Gary Vaynerchuk, when he's like, I think he talked about it on Jocko podcast when he's like, yeah, Gary V's out there telling people like, dude, sell your home, sell your kids, do this, do that. And it's just like, the guy's like, oh, okay. Like I got a mortgage, asshole. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
people have these responsibilities. And honestly, I mean, the same reason I go to work, the same reason you are away from your family right now, like we have responsibilities. And yeah, I just think there's so many voices too, man, that like try to pull people. I'm not shitting on Gary Vee because he does say some pretty cool shit.
He does. I like Gary Vee.
But there's sometimes like Theo Vaughn, when he started joking about it, I'm like, dude, that was just pretty funny. I could see that side too.
Do you follow on TikTok, or I think he's on Instagram too? Do you follow Grayson Magaha?
Mm-mm.
He's the Night King world champ, or the Night Shift world champ. The guy, he's bigger. He's a bigger guy. He's got a beard. He wears the pit vipers. He's
okay, yeah.
You gotta, that
Yeah.
guy's funny, man. He he's funny, but he's serious too. He's like the blue collar people's champ, right? And he's coming on the podcast. He actually said,
Nice.
he's down to come on. So we're gonna talk to him about that. But he talks a lot about the issues surrounding the workforce right now, and what the pandemic taught us, and why it's hard to find people. The people are there. You just spent the last 7 or 8 years shitting on them. So now, it's the people's turn. You're in need of people. The people don't need you,
Yeah.
not as badly as you need them. Right.
Right.
And so he was saying, my merit and performance wage increase should not be coupled in or mixed in or added as one with my cost of living increase. My cost of living increase should be one raise. My merit and my performance raise should be another.
Yeah.
Not here's a dollar, figure out which one is which, right?
Yeah.
And because if all you're gonna offer is money to work here, I can go find that somewhere else.
Yeah.
You gotta give people a reason to want to work for you.
Yeah.
Right.
It's funny too, man. Like you bring that up, like the labor shortage that's like projected. And I think that's something I'm trying to do with the podcast, like with the giveaway. Which is the response that Mike Ewing has got with this giveaway, man. Like Outlaw Leather, Welder Made Headbands, Western Welding Academy, Sawyer Manufacturing. Like there's just like a whole list, and I don't want to like leave anybody out. Like please go look at the list of sponsors. But
that's an episode, isn't it? Because
it's an episode, yeah.
Yeah, I saw that on the list. I'll have to give that one a listen to tomorrow.
Yeah, it's cool, dude. And I mean, he does it from like a genuine place in his heart. You know what I mean? And it's completely free for the kids. But and he's doing all this. And he actually texted me tonight, and it's his birthday today. And
shout out Mike Ewing, happy birthday.
Mike Ewing, happy birthday. And his mom actually ended up passing away tonight. She was, I don't know what it was. I know she was older and she was in hospice care. But in the midst of all that, like he was still trying to push for this giveaway, dude, which just says a lot about him, man. So a huge example to me, But the response that he's gotten and that I've been able to share with this giveaway, it's because of the stuff that we're talking about. Like you don't have to go, like if you go to college, like when you're in high school, man, right now, like you said, the last 7 to 8 years, people are just shitting on these kids. It's true. Like I remember it was like, you going to college? No, well, I played football, right? And it's like, are you going to go play football for some shitty D3 school? And I was like, no, I think I suck. I don't think I could do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then it was like, well, what are you going to do? It's like, oh shit, I don't know. But just giving kids options and trying to like lower the amount of bullshit, like filter out the bullshit that these kids are hearing right now. And the cool thing, like I had a guy reach out to me on Instagram 2 weeks ago from Colorado. The dude had a college degree. He was a firefighter, like certified firefighter, and he owned his own business. So he's like done it all, he's probably
badass.
Which is badass. And he listened to episode 3, which is one of my buddies, Ryan Zumwalt, who is a crane operator. And he listened to that and he's like, oh shit, maybe I could be a crane operator, because he's not liking what he's doing right now. And, he heard about how crane operators can sit and watch Netflix. No, I'm just kidding. All day long.
No, you're not.
No, I'm not. But no, it's like cool. It's a badass job. And like I've had like episode 4, right? Like the state trooper that we had on, he after the recording, he's like, dude, I want to go be a crane operator once I retire from being a state trooper. Like that's a badass gig. But
I listened to half of the state trooper one,
which is a crazy one, dude.
Yeah.
Cameron's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. He was talking about being a state trooper down by the border on I-3 or whatever it is, where there's a lot of shit happening. And, it was his ride along, right?
Yeah.
See, man,
dude, you listen. You listen. Dude, that's so cool though. And that's the thing, like to get that text, and then I forget his name. But anyways, he DM'd me on Instagram and said, hey, can I get Ryan's contact info? And I texted Ryan, like, hey, dude, are you cool with this? I screenshotted it. He's like, dude, absolutely. So I sent him his number, and, they started talking. And that's how I found out all this information about like, hey, I'm a firefighter, college grad, business owner. But that's what it's all about, at least for Bluecollar Angst. And, just to try to spread that message. And if you're a blue collar, man, there's so many stigmas, dude. There's so
we're on drugs, we're cheating, we're abandoning our family, we're destroying the planet.
Yeah. We all do cocaine. And I'm like, just because I do cocaine doesn't mean anything. No, I'm just
kidding. It's not my fault that I like the smell of it, okay? Like, leave me alone.
Dude, I wish I had it with me. Tierra Oso, I think episode 18, he made a sticker. It's on one of my stories, but he made a sticker like the Lincoln Electric, the red and the black, and it says dirty hands, clean Coke, like clean cocaine. So I put one on the gun safe and I put one on a water bottle. But yeah, dude, I don't know. There's the funny side to it, but at the same time, like, I don't know. I feel like you mentioned like mental health in the blue collar world, the box behind Bluecollar Angst. Like, I made this logo up and I'm just trying to like put shit together. I was like, oh, I like the font. Oh, that box looks cool. What color do I want the box? And a lot of people have asked me like, dude, what's up with the box? Like, what does that mean? And the box, I made it. And then I just started thinking, well, why am I going to keep this in here? And I kept it in there because I feel like it's a closed box, right? Because I feel like a lot of blue collar guys keep stuff in. Like, we don't talk about stuff. And I feel like Boom Nation shared a suicide rate, which I don't want to butcher what that was, but it was pretty high. And like blue collar guys and construction workers have a really high suicide rate. And I feel like it's kind of like that, like in the American military, the US military, like, don't be a pussy, right? And I feel like there's a lot of that like transcends into the blue collar workforce.
Yep.
But yeah, so just like opening that box and not keeping it like in, if that makes sense. I hope I explained that good enough. But
yeah, absolutely, man. That's amazing. That's more than just a box to me now. That logo is so much more than I thought it was. Like, yeah, you lift the box up, you move it to another spot, blue collar, yada yada yada. But that box has so much meaning. I look at that now and I'm like, shit, it's fucking true.
It's true, dude.
Have you listened to any of my podcasts yet?
I started listening to, who was it? I went back. I was trying to find. So how long have you been doing the reels, the content?
Oh shit, 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
And I swear, I was trying to go back and see the first one. I started sending. The one that came to mind was like I think it was. I don't want to say he wasn't Navajo, but the native dude that was like ancestors. That dude.
Oh, LJ Musqua. That guy lives 20 minutes away from me. That's funny that you know who he is. Yeah.
It's so hilarious.
LJ, I always tell you guys he won't come on the podcast. He won't come on the podcast.
Why?
So he doesn't. He never said, "I don't want to pry." I asked. He's like, "I don't do that, but we can collaborate on some videos." And I'm like, "Fuck yeah, let's do it." So when he said no to the podcast but we could collaborate, beggars can't be choosers. So I just. Let's do it. So we make videos now together. He lives 20 minutes away from me. We're gonna make more videos actually together. I love LJ. He's good shit.
Yeah. No, dude, I think about your content. I've seen a lot of your content. I'm trying to think about what podcast I started watching, then I got pulled off of it today. I started watching was she a welder? The girl that was on last?
Oh, yeah. She's like 21. She's a welder / iron worker.
Wow.
Yeah, she's going for both. Yeah.
Where's she from?
She's from Vancouver, Canada.
Nice.
Or just outside Vancouver here. Yeah. If I could suggest 2 episodes to listen to, we're on the topic of mental health and content creators and guys who have struggled a lot. Listen to Roll and Smoke, which I think is episode 20, and then or 19. It's one of those 2. And Tsunami Warning with Johnny Tsunami.
Johnny Tsunami. That's the one I watched. Yeah. Dude, he's so cool. I want to get him on the show.
Yeah.
He just dropped a new brand, right? Blue Collar Boys.
Blue Collar Boys. Yeah, I love that brand. Man, it's almost as cool as your hat.
Dude, I got a guy making some hats right now. Like a little pre-order going. I had some buddies buy some, but yeah, dude, that's kind of the goal with this too. Just like the apparel, the shirts. I made some cool ass logos up, like Blue Collar Angst, Stay Safe or Die, with like a 6 skull. But yeah, it's kind of cool though. Like Johnny Tsunami, that's one thing I just want to say on that, dude. Like Richard Sanchez, the guy that made that sign, and he's made the Dirty Hands Clean Coke sticker too from Tierra Oso out of El Paso, Texas. In his episode, he actually talked about, he's like, dude, something I learned from his dad: people at the top collaborate, people at the bottom compete. So it's like, I look at a brand like that, or like Troll Clothing, Scum, or what is it? Oh, I'd have butchered their name.
Field Scum. I have a shirt from them.
Yeah.
I actually think I found them. I found you from them. I'm pretty sure. I think so, because I found you on Threads, right? I messaged you on Threads the first time because
Yeah.
how did I end up seeing your stuff? Someone commented on something, or you commented on something. I saw yours. Oh, another blue collar podcast. Beautiful. Let's follow.
Yeah.
And then you follow back. You liked one of my posts, and then I'm like, man, we got to get on each other's podcast. I gotta help. Maybe shoot some listeners to you, and maybe you shoot some my way,
Yeah.
and we talk, right? And that's the whole point of this. This is networking, man. This
Dude,
is
just like this though, right? Like it's like I would call you like a blue collar podcast because that's what I think of you, right? Like the
hell
oil
yeah.
field. But it's like we're not sitting here competing, we're like collaborating. And that's made it so much less stressful, dude. Like even like promoting different brands, like if there's a welding lens brand and then there's another one that I follow and I'm, saying, hey, go follow these guys. I don't try to get into the politics or like I don't want to get in the mud with all that shit because it's so complicated.
Yeah.
I think one school that I'm pretty exclusive with, at least for right now, is Western Welding Academy. Tyler Sassy, that's one that I would say go listen to, episode 12.
Okay, I'll check that out tomorrow too.
He shared a reel tonight and tagged me in it of just what he was saying about like having an abundant mentality, right? Like what he was saying too in the episode was like, hey, when you wake up in the morning, his mom used to say, wake up at 5 a.m. and throw your boots on and give God something to bless, right? Like don't be lazy, go out there and just like set the tone. And but dude, that episode, honestly, because of him, I think like that's how I met Mike Ewing. And Mike is like a little ambassador for Blue Collar Angst, dude. Like he's reaching out to like Mike Rowe. He's like, hey, Mike Rowe, you should come on this Blue Collar Angst podcast. And like Martin Martinez, Mr. George, he's coming on the show because of Mike.
Yeah, I love that guy. I've used some of his sounds when the first time your H2S monitor goes off. I've done that video twice. I think once a long time ago, then once like a year ago.
Is that the saline gas, the H2S?
H2S is hydrogen sulfide, and it's like super poisonous. And like if you can smell it, it's too late.
Dude, me and Connor, we went scouting for antelope in Kemmer, Wyoming. Connor Lee, the host, the old co-host, and he had a tag. I didn't have anything. But he's like, "You want to go?" And it was like all these wellheads everywhere in the middle of nowhere, and shitload of antelope because it's Wyoming. But yeah, the H2S warning, like H2S everywhere. And we were sitting on top of this ridge, and I was like, I think I just freaked myself out. But I was like, I think I'm smelling something, So he's like, no, dude, we're fine. And I was like, because we were there for like 30 minutes. I'm like, dude, I think we should go, and nothing could have came of it, but who knows? I've always thought of that though.
Did you smell rotten eggs?
It smelled like rotten egg. Yeah.
There was H2S in the air, but like, I don't know, man. It depends on how many parts per million it was, right? And you're safe in, I think it's like 10 parts. I don't want to say that and be like, oh, go hang out in 10 parts and then you like die. But like, I should know that. But no, I think it's like 100 parts per million is definitely fatal. But 10 parts per million, I think you can work and do it up to 8 hours or something like that. Oh boy, OH&S is going to kill me if I don't get that right. But yeah, man, that's crazy. Where can people find your podcast, man?
So you can go to Blue Collar Angst, just Google it, which is kind of cool. Like at first it was like, I think the Amazon UK music was like the first one to put it up, but got a website that I'm working on to eventually get some merch up on there. And dude, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere really. But it's been a journey, dude. And it's been humbling to like listen to people's stories. And especially the ones where people are like, dude, I don't have anything to offer, right? Like I think of that, I forget his name, the guy that you're collaborating with the videos. Like he doesn't want to do, LJ. Yeah. So he doesn't want to do the podcast, but I'll do the videos. And in my head, I'm like, dude, a video is more vulnerable than a podcast, at least for me. But like I've talked to a lot of people and some people have turned me down, which is totally fine. I get it, but everybody has something to offer, dude. And I think if we can just share that perspective, like, I don't know how to say this in the right way, but like, in college, how you have these different like electives that you have to like just fill. They're like bullshit classes just to kind of see what you like.
Yep.
I feel like in the blue collar world, when you're 18 and you go landscape or then you're doing road maintenance or whatever you're doing, those are our electives, right? Like you don't know until you go try it. You don't know in college until you take the geography class and you're like, oh shit, this is kind of cool. But in the blue collar world, it's so tough because especially with age, dude, like you don't get that many shots, right? Like you have to really set yourself up. And I feel like the guys I've talked to, when you have a plan from 18 years old and you're like, I'm going to do this, that's when you're just set up so well. So if people can listen to this podcast, like younger kids, my main audience is like, I really want the younger generation to get into it, like the 17 and up. I think that's where I can see my demographics from at the lowest. But like 24 to 35 is huge,
Yep. Yep.
and it's just guys like us that are like, hey, let's talk about life, and the angst part of it too, man, where it's like, it doesn't mean like dread or anxious, anxiety, whatever, the definition is. It's like, dude, we have like a passion behind the blue collar world. Right. And,
well, that's why we do this, right? We enjoy this so much. We want to talk about it even after we've spent all day doing it. I've never thought of it like that before, but like, we like doing it, and this is a way to take our mind off of everything else, right? The podcasting is my outlet. My outlet just happens to be my career choice, which is weird. It's so weird, man. So weird.
It's so weird. And it just comes so natural, dude. And like, I looked at like Johnny Tsunami, I love his content. It's the funniest shit I've ever seen, dude. Like, it's just like the first one I saw when it's like, here's the life of an average blue collar worker. First I wake up, and like when he makes that little face when he's like walking out of the view of the camera frame, and he's just like, like it's just so funny. But like that, dude, like your podcast, bringing him on, like just to hear his life story, like it's cool, like, because it gives you a different perspective. Like you only see so much, and especially like with influencers or like YouTube families that blog or vlog. I mean,
there's a lot in Utah, isn't there? Eh?
There's a shitload in Utah.
The Shaytards. You had what's his name, Sean Durez. You had Roman Atwood was from that area at one point, wasn't he?
Dashley's is a big one.
Dalen, he's the Asian guy. He's from Utah. Trixon was born in Utah, I'm pretty sure.
Then there's a ton in Arizona too, but I mean, there's a lot of Mormons in Arizona too. But that's the thing I've always said about it. I'm not knocking vloggers at all, because I mean, dude, the editing, like this, making content, that's something I need to get better at. Is like, I have all this content built up, and I'm like, dude, shit, I'm just trying to get episodes out, but I need to really expand my network with like the reels and like really highlighting the great parts of the episodes.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like you only see so much. I saw some vloggers one time, and like in a Costco in like Provo, and or Sam's Club, I think it was. And it just seems so staged, not everybody's like that. And I think that's why the real ones really do well, when it's like a genuine thing.
Yeah. And people can pick up on that.
Oh yeah. People pick up on it super fast.
Oh yeah.
But I think that's why a podcast is cool, because like Johnny Tsunami, for example, it's like, you kind of know his headspace, where he's at, like the humor, and that's how you relate. But then you get him on a podcast, and you're like, holy shit, dude, you got a cool story,
Exactly. That's what I was saying earlier, man. Like, you can't tell who someone is with a 30-second, a minute-long video on the internet every now and then, right? But you get them on here and talk for an hour and a half, 2 hours. You figure out pretty fucking quick who a person is. It's pretty hard to hide a lot of shit when you're having a conversation that there's not a live audience for right now, right? Like, there will be one eventually, like a bunch of people listening to it, but like, you get someone that knows that there's no one watching it right then and there, call them on their shit live, and they just go off, right? They talk. You learn a lot about people that way, right? And I love that. I love that, man. It's my favorite thing. I love chatting, and I love getting to know people. And
it's like, I don't know. You made me think of this. It's like my favorite thing at work is like getting to know my guys, the guys I work with. But it's like, you only get so many breaks or like chances to do that, like if they're going to, I don't know, how tough it is. Like when you're working, and then it's like, you got like a minute, you're passing by, you're like, dude, what's up? You don't get that like meaningful connection, but until you're off. But it's cool, because this is kind of what that is. Like that feeling when you get like 5 minutes when something breaks down and you're just sitting there shooting the shit.
Yeah.
That's what a podcast episode for me. That's what it kind of feels like.
Yeah, man. So I didn't know how podcasting was going to go at first, right? But I was already all over TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, right? And whatever else there is. And I was going live. I was live streaming, right? And so I was doing that. And then the first time the camera came up and I had to talk to someone, like, this is exactly like live streaming. This is exactly like going live on TikTok and Instagram, minus being actually live, and you can edit shit out if you don't want to say it. There's
Yeah.
no takebacks when you're going live, when you're live streaming. But when you're recording like this, boom, right? And sometimes we do live streams with a podcast, and you do have that live stream, and you got to be very careful with where you're live streaming to, right? But
Yeah.
so on it, so it and it worked out for me with the podcast because I spent so much time and energy and put in so much work building that following on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. That when by the time the podcast came around, there was already like the listener base was already there. I just had to figure out, okay, how many of these people actually want to listen to a podcast? How many of these people can I turn into listeners? And turns out, it's been fun. It's been a lot of fun. I don't know if you want to talk about it or not, but like how many episodes do you have, and what are your monthly listeners like? Like how many downloads total do you have so far?
So I have almost 3,000 with 21 episodes out. 21 or 22.
Good for you.
But I mean, it's cool to see like the one. I usually have about 100 different devices, like 100 different downloads in the first few days, which is tough too, though, man. Like to try to like I've had guys that were like super staunch, like, dude, this is so badass at first, and then they kind of tapered off. But I mean, I feel like they'll come back, like you kind of hit your stride, right? Like anytime you do something new at first, you're like, oh shit, like baby steps. But then now, like, I don't know if you feel this way, but like I just recorded last night with David Estrada from Welder Made Headbands. I recorded on Saturday with Hunter Wilson, the one that's released this week. I think that's 22. And it's so cool. Like, I don't know, like the dopamine rush that you get halfway through an episode when you're like, dude, this could be something. Like that feeling where it's like, holy shit.
I'm there right now, man.
Yeah. And it's like, this is something special. And for me, I'm just like, that's why I say the reels. I said that earlier. I need to get better at like putting it out there.
Like I turn clips into reels, right? And make like teaser trailers, and I put them out there, and it's like, hey, here's something like a teaser for you for like, this is what you could miss on this episode. See where this conversation leads to. Come in and check it out, right? And yeah, man.
It's funny though too, man. Like I've had guys be like, yeah, like I had one guy that I know, he's like, I'm not going to listen to your podcast. And I was like, oh, that's cool, dude. That's totally cool. Cause I'm like handing out stickers to everybody I know. And he came up to me one day and he goes, I listened to your podcast, dude. Tyler Sassy, episode 12. And he was just like, that was pretty cool. And then a week later, after thanking him, he comes up, he's like, you should get a student from Western Welding Academy, not the owner or the founder, right? Like Tyler was. Get somebody so like the kids can get a perspective of what was it like to go to a welding school. And reached out to Tyler, texted Tyler Sassy, boom, hooked it up, with Trevin Wilson coming on in September 12th, I think we're recording. But it's just cool, dude. Like this little, like the collaborative effort and all the support I'm getting. And that's the thing too, just like with anything, man, it's like that blue collar thing I kind of mentioned when you're going to cut a piece of wood and you're scared. You got to have courage, right? Like getting told, like, I'm not going to listen to your podcast. At first, I was like, shit like that's going to mess with me. But it didn't do anything. It just fired me up. I'm like, it's all good, dude.
Not everyone's going to listen. Not everyone needs to listen, right? If he doesn't want to listen, cool. You'll find someone else to listen, right? It doesn't matter, right? Right now we've worked really hard to get here. So, with social media, and then what I do is I push it out everywhere the day it comes out. I push it on Snapchat. I push it on Threads, Twitter, Instagram. I go on Facebook. I joined all the podcast Facebook pages and I post it there, right? And I send it out everywhere. And right now we're up to about 2,000 monthly listeners, and that's fucking cool, man. Like, okay, we were doing something like this with the Second Acts podcast a few months back, and we actually did a live stream of that one, and there was only 5 people in the live stream. And this changed my whole perspective on everything, including views on social media, how they don't mean shit, to how many people listen. Okay. 5 people were in that live stream watching it at any given time. More came, more left, whatever. But there were 5 people in there when this conversation happened. And he's like, man, when I see the number 5 looks small. But if you took 5 people and set them in front of you and they were watching you and listening to you and hanging off what you had to say, 5 people is a lot.
Dude, that's the thing too. Like when you first start, like even on it, I'm in that spot. Like you obviously have, you have like 40,000 on Instagram.
Yeah, 40,000 on Instagram. Yep.
Yeah. So like you have a huge following. Like I knew who you were. Like I told like some of my family members, like, yeah, dude, like Dick Frost, you know what I mean? And like, I'm going on this podcast. It's cool. And like, everybody kind of knows, you know, and it's funny though. Like I'm in that section where it's like, I'm in the growth phase right now, the first 3 months. And like, you hear a lot of shit where it's like by 3 months, you'll know, or by 6 months, you'll definitely know like if it's going to work or not.
By episode 20, you should know, right?
By episode 20, but it's like the support that I've gotten. And then like the listeners really, dude, like, I mean, US, Canada, and like, it's cool. So I don't know what hosting site you use, but I use Spotify for podcasters, and it'll give me like a breakdown of like, because I thought it was just like one dude in Canada, you know, that was listening to me. And then I go on my browser and I click on it, not on my phone. And I go on my browser and I click on Canada, and it's like, oh, Alberta, and then like all these different like territories. And I'm like, holy shit, really? And then I get like Spain, Mexico, Germany, Sweden, Australia, like all these different like countries that are tuning in. And but yeah, I don't ever want to lose that, dude. It's so special. Like even every time I get a new follower on Instagram, because I remember at first, like just to get to 10, when I was like, hey, somebody followed me, you know, or like with the podcast, when it was like, dude, I got 5 listens, I got 10. And then it's like, I got 100, I got 200. And it's just like that compounding snowball, dude. It just feels so good. And I mean, you can look at like Joe Rogan, which I mean, he is just another level, dude.
Oh,
you know, I mean? He's been doing it for a long time, and it's Joe Rogan, right? But it's like, I don't feel like if I could get all I want to do, my goal. So here's, I guess, my goal. I'll just say it live. Jesse James. I don't know why. Jesse James, Pope of Welding, episode 50. I want him on. I want him on the show, man. I want to go out to his, you know, his place down in Texas. I want to bring like all the equipment down there and just record with him.
That's been a goal
from the start.
Make it happen.
You know, and then like meeting Tyler Sassy, and it's like Tyler did a collab with him on the Bluecollar tour that he did, and Jesse built him a sick ass welding truck that they gave away, dude. It was like an old, I think it was 89 Dodge. You know,
we're gonna tag Jesse James in this. That's gonna be a teaser trailer. We're gonna tag Jesse James in this, and we're gonna try to make it happen, dude. I'm gonna put it everywhere, and we're gonna tag Jesse everywhere, man.
I remember watching. That'd be sick. I remember watching him one time, and he said something about like, hey, you know, he was talking about sharing what he knows, and he's like, dude, he used to just like do his thing, and he's the master at like manipulating metal, welding, and he talked about like, dude, what good is all this knowledge if I don't pass it on to somebody else? You know,
don't gatekeep that shit.
You don't gatekeep that shit. You know, it's just gone. So he's like, I think it's been a big thing of his, and I think that's why he'd be a good fit on the podcast. And
hell yeah.
But yeah, dude, I don't know. That's always been a goal, and it's cool just to see like the support, and you know, and that's one thing else I want to like really drive home to like people listening, dude. Like, it's not like I'm in it, just like you're not, dude. Like you're right now, Bluecollar Angst, a couple hundred followers on Instagram, right? Like you could say like, oh, that's a nobody thing. I don't look at it like that at all, dude. I look at it like Tyler Sassy with 6,000 followers, or somebody that has 150 followers that I know, dude. Like, doesn't matter. Everybody, and I treat every edit the same, because it's like everybody has such a cool story, and you know, that's why I started this too, man. You know, and like when I say Jesse James, it's not like, oh, I just want to get somebody popular out there. It comes from a place of like, dude, he has so much knowledge, and I think he's so chill too, right? Like when you listen to him talk, he just like, kind of like Hunter Wilson, this week's episode, he just said what he meant, you know, like he didn't sugarcoat it. He was just like when I said, hey man, how you doing? He's like, hot. And he was just kind of quiet for a second. And I'm like, shit, well, where are you from? What part of Texas? You know, and kind of like opened it up, and talk about the King Ranch, you know, like I didn't plan on, just like you did with me, dude. You're like, I kind of shoot from the hip. Like I don't make a plan either. I'm the same way.
Just follow the conversation, man.
Yeah, all I ask is like, where are you from? Like, what's your name and what's your title, right? Because I don't want to dick up like where they're from or call somebody something they're not, you know? So that's the only thing I know, and then we just kind of go.
So speaking of Texas, do you know why I think it's Texas. Yeah, it's Texas. Do you know why the theme park Six Flags Over Texas? It started in Texas. Do you know why it's
Really?
called Six Flags?
No.
Texas was 6 different countries at one point in time.
Really?
Right? It was Spain, it was Mexico, it
Okay, yeah.
was part of the British colonies, I think. Then it was the Republic of Texas and the US and something else. I learned that today on a freaking podcast, man. I'm like,
Dude,
no way, dude.
no way.
That's freaking cool. Yeah. I listened to Real AF with what's
Don,
his name?
Dan, what is it? Friselli?
Yeah, Andy Friselli.
Andy. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm listening to that one right now too. Oh man, I've discovered so many good podcasts over the last couple of weeks. Like
Dude,
Theo Vaughn has changed my life.
Dude, I'm gonna send you a reel when we get off. But dude, it's so I don't know if you've seen it yet, but these two friends, they made a remake of a Rogan episode with Theo Vaughn when he's talking about like I'm a peeping Tom for gas. Like, you know how like Theo Vaughn gets on that shit?
Yeah.
And Rogan's like, dude, that's a bit. You would murder. And like these guys, like he wore like a skull cap thing, like to make him look bald, and they did a damn good job. But it's funny because it's like Theo Vaughn, I feel like he's just blown up, dude, like the last few years, you know?
Yeah.
Like all the shit he says, and it's just so off the wall that sometimes you're like, dude, are you just like saying shit to say stuff?
Yeah,
But
I think
so funny when he says it.
He's delivered his bit to you, and you're still processing what he just said, and he's already on to the next one. Right?
Oh,
he's
yeah.
just so quick, like boom, 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 right? And you're like processing it, and you don't even know what's coming next.
Like he had
right?
that one. It was like what he's like. I got the rib cage of a lesbian, and I got the something like that. And I'm like, what the? I'm thinking about that, and then he finishes the joke, and I'm like, holy shit, that was genius, dude. You know?
Yeah. He said something about animals today. He's like, you ever just been looking at one of them animals gaying around, and just like. What the fuck did you just say? He's from the South, right? So, like, some of the shit he says.
Isn't he from Louisiana, dude?
He's from Louisiana, yeah.
He talked about
from Louisiana.
When he's talking about, I think it was Mississippi or Memphis, when he's like the BBQ. He's talking about barbecue.
Yeah.
He's like, they love that BBQ. Like, and he had one episode too. I think the first one I saw of Theo Vaughn, he had, I don't know if it's like a guest that he had or if it's like his helper, like Jamie is for Joe Rogan. But It was like an Asian dude. And then he's like, he asked him something. He's like, who would you eat if you had to? Like, what nationality? And the kid's like, I don't know, probably just somebody like me. He's like, a Vietnam, like, you'd eat a Viet Cong? And the kid was like, dude, I'm American. And he's like, ah. And I'm like, just shit like that. It's just so funny. You know?
He comes a lot across to me, and like, I think it's funny as fuck, but like low-key racist, but it's funny.
Which is
very funny.
How does that work though? Like for some people, and then for some, it's probably because he's so overly looking like a redneck, like with the mullet and stuff.
Yeah.
But if you had
Turn of the rat,
if you had Johnny Tsunami saying that, dude, like skinhead, like tatted up, it'd be like, nope, dude, you're canceled. You know what I mean?
People commented on my video with of that podcast, being like, I don't like this guy. He's racist. He's a bigoted piece of shit. And I'm like, man, what the fuck are you talking about? What's that?
Did you talk about that stuff at all? I got halfway through on YouTube.
So a little bit. So just keep watching, I guess.
Yeah.
Hey, I got a question for you. We're an hour and a half here, and I haven't brought it up yet. So, like, yay me. Do you know what viscosity is?
Viscosity.
Yeah.
Yeah, like in that's like the separation of water from oil in paint. Viscosity. What is it?
Yeah. So it's like, the thickness of a load.
Oh, okay.
Right? Like viscous, viscosity. Okay. Where I'm going with this is the podcast is sponsored by the Mudman. He deals in drilling fluid equipment and laboratory testing equipment and just stuff for the rig, right? Drilling, you're putting that mud down your hole and making it nice and thick, giving it a nice thick load. It's interesting where that conversation goes a lot of the time.
Dude, I thought you were like, this is actually a paid advertisement for 4 hymns. And I was like, what the fuck?
No, so www.mudmanmarket.com for all your drilling testing equipment, your drilling fluid equipment and laboratory testing equipment needs. Got to get him on the podcast. We're working on it.
Is he based out of Canada?
Yeah, he's actually here in Alberta. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, he lived not far from me. I just recently moved, so he only lived like 20 minutes away from me at one point. Now he lives like 3 hours. So,
Dude, can I ask you a weird question about
uh,
Canada?
you could ask me all the weird shit you want. What?
Is calling somebody a Canuck, is that like a derogatory thing? Like, will that piss you off? Somebody's like freaking Canuck?
Would it piss you off if I called you a Yankee?
No.
Yeah,
No.
Canucks Canadian, man.
Dude, just one dude that I know, he's like kind of a pain in my ass, but he's Canadian. I think he has dual citizenship. Like everybody that I meet that's Canadian is like, I'm a dual citizen, right?
That's because our country is falling apart. And if you can't have access to leave to another country, you are screwed.
Dude, that's the thing that I don't understand too. I was going to ask, like, well, not to lose track of this first. I called somebody a Canuck and somebody was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like as if I said something wrong. I'm like, shit, dude, is that like a terrible thing to say to a Canadian dude? I didn't think so.
Nah. If you're in Vancouver, they probably like it even more.
Yeah.
Canuck, that's the name of their hockey team, the Vancouver Canucks.
True that, yeah.
Hell yeah.
Dude, so I had what was I thinking? I lost him when you said Vancouver. I started thinking hockey.
How our country is falling apart.
How your country's falling apart. Yes, thank you. It's so funny, like the immigration shit in the United States. And then I think about like immigration like into Canada. My dad went on a motorcycle trip there. Like this was years ago. And they're like very staunch. Like, how long are you going to be here? Like, what are you doing here? And then like, why are you here? Like, they're like very like they don't want anybody to freeload and just stay there. Right. Is that the goal of that?
Maybe because free healthcare. I don't know. And I mean, let's not even get into the free thing, but like it's, we're paying over 50% in taxes. So
Jesus,
or close to 50%. Yeah, we're not up there with like California. I think California's at like 62% right now.
Holy hell!
All hail Sleepy Joe.
Yeah, dude. You guys look at Americans sometimes like, dude, just let everybody from the South come up. It's no big deal. Or are you guys kind of like keep them away, like you guys are with the Americans?
Whew.
That's a tough question.
Okay, so repeat that question again.
So do you guys look at like Americans probably from Louisiana or Texas that are like, dude, I don't want you guys up here. Like closed border. We don't want anybody. What are you doing here? Like the same questions that Canadians ask Americans or whoever else is going there. Do you guys look at Americans like, why are you guys being so rude? I thought about that the other day.
I think it. Texans, where I'm from, Alberta. Alberta is the Texas of Canada, so we're called. We're very oil rich and very blue collar and yeehaw cowboy, and so we're the Texas of Canada. So we would love Texans to come here. If Texans came here and felt right at home, we'd probably get off on that. Jesus, if you're liberal and you're coming into Canada and you want to stay, don't stay. Leave. We're trying to get rid of our liberals.
Yeah. So you probably don't look at like conservatives in America like, just don't be such a dick. Just let them come in. You don't think like that? That's a loaded question. I'm not trying to get political. Sometimes
no.
It's on the podcast, but that's just a genuine like, I'm curious,
It's good. No. That's a great question, man. That's just stumping me. Jesus. And what I said about getting rid of our liberals, I mean, like we're trying to get rid of Trudeau. Trudeau's not really a liberal. He's in the Liberal Party, but he is whatever. Well, how long has he been there?
He gets to stay for what? Like another.
So in Canada, we don't have terms, right?
Yeah.
So we do have terms, I guess. So 4-year terms, and then they call an election. But in the U.S., you can only run twice. You can only be president twice, and that's it, right? Yeah. In Canada, if they keep voting you in, you're in.
How long has he been in?
8 years. And nobody can figure out how, except for, out east, the Newfies and Toronto. I don't know, man. I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah, it's just something I thought about. I feel like so many people like, I don't know, like even in a family, dude, like I had this conversation about like immigration, like mass immigration.
Yeah.
And it's tough, dude. Like you think about, I look at how crowded like Colorado, Utah, California, going to visit like Disneyland. It's just tough, dude. But I don't know. I don't know the answer to that either. I was just curious if you had a opinion on it.
Yeah. Oh. I know immigration Canadian Border Patrol are they're dicks. Because when we drive over to the US, it's easy peasy lemon squeezy. Come on in, let's go. Yeehaw, come get some of that America. Come
Yeah.
get some of that cheap gas.
Yeah. What's
And
gas up there?
so the equivalent for us, what is it right now there for you?
Oh shoot, like $4, I think.
$4? I wish. So $4 is like 80 to 90 cents a liter here. So that's cheap. We're paying like $1 in some places, almost $2 a liter, $1.60, $1.70. I've seen it up to $1.90 at times, which would be like $6 to $8 a gallon for you.
Damn.
Yeah. So we being taken to the bank.
Are they just taxing it just for like environmental reasons? Is that like the government's prerogative?
So we have a carbon tax. Yep, we have a carbon tax. Land of the free, right?
Land of the free.
I actually heard a good bit, and I don't remember what podcast it was on. I might have been Theo Vaughn talking about turtles, and he's like, you know what, like all this shit's moving from plastic to fucking cardboard or whatnot because of fucking turtles. Like, oh wait, I don't know. Okay, so you know how many times I've seen a fucking turtle in my life? Like in the wild, none. Maybe once or twice. But sea turtles, how you saying a straw is like with pinpoint accuracy going down like a little hole like this, a turtle's mouth.
Yeah.
You know, like what the fuck are you on, right? And it's like, are the sea turtles really dying? Are we finding turtles everywhere? I ain't seen a turtle pop up dead. What are they drowning?
Yeah. The only thing I've seen is like seals, right? Like from a shark, like seals up on the beach. But I saw a reel the other day, and it was like a girl taking a photo shoot for like picking up trash on a beach. And she sit there and she's picking up trash. They're taking photos. She's posing, and this dude just recording her. And at the end of it, she just literally throws the bag on the damn floor. And I'm like, that's the thing, dude. Like all these, I don't know, like the environmentalists and stuff like that, which goes either way. You know what I mean? Like I think there's some credence on both sides, you know?
Yeah.
Like a lot of blue collar guys are like, no, there's no such thing as global warming. It's like, well, it's not what they say it is on the left, in my opinion. You know, I think it's really like just kind of the cycle of the earth, right? Like the geography of the earth, like it's just getting warmer. The ice caps melted. That's why we have Canadians, right? Like you guys can
shout out.
But yeah, dude, it's back to the bullshit though. It's like there's so much shit out there on the internet, and I think that's why like pages like yours get such a positive response, dude, because it's like the humor that like makes shit not so mundane. Or like Theo Vaughn, you know, it's like, oh, like it makes it just light. You know,
we need to laugh right now, right? Yeah. Now more than ever, we need to laugh. We also need to revolt, but we need to laugh a little bit too. When we can laugh while we're revolting. Look at the Bolsheviks. What was it? Joseph Stalin? Was it Joseph Stalin? Was it or Lenin? Which one hung who in the square? I don't know. Lenin. I think Lenin was part of the Bolsheviks. And oh man, the history buffs are gonna hang us for this one. Ah man,
these dumb blue collar pricks.
Look at these dumb blue collar pricks trying to talk shit. Yeah, no, I think it was Lenin who walked into the square and started his the Bolshevik revolution or whatever the hell it was called, and yada yada yada. And that's what we need more of.
That's the thing.
No internet though. No internet though. Cut out the internet. Cut out that bullshit. Cut out the media. Hey, post flyers all over town being like, hey, revolution in the square tonight.
Yeah. I was going to say, I don't want to go all the way back to like minute 5 of the podcast, but you made me think of this. So like the internet, like I feel like the internet, dude, has just made it. So Joe Rogan said this once, like you can say whatever you want. You're not going to get punched in the mouth. Right. And I feel like growing up, like, cause Facebook for us, I remember when Facebook came out, I'm like, holy shit, what is this? You know, like this is cool. But like kids that just grow up with like Snapchat and all this, you can talk shit and not have consequences, right?
Yep.
And I saw a reel the other day too, man. And it's probably an old one because everybody was wearing a mask for like on a plane. And this dude was just sitting there talking mad shit to this like flight attendant. And he's just sitting there like, bitch, I'll beat your ass. Like this like redneck dude, probably from I don't know. I haven't had a guest from Arkansas. Probably from Arkansas.
I have.
Have you?
Oh yeah, Big Daddy official.
Oh
Shout out
shoot!
to that guy. Yeah,
Shout out.
Bad Daddy official, not
Oh,
Big
bad
Daddy.
daddy.
Bad Daddy.
Dude, this dude's talking shit though, and like everybody's just sitting there, you know? And I'm just like, what the hell, man? Like, what's the world come to, you know? Or like these baby appointments we've been going to. You go to the bathroom, right? Like I took my little girl to the bathroom and they have like the women abuse cards. Like you can like take a card and be anonymous.
Oh
And
shit.
they had one that was like a tearaway one, dude, like perforated or whatever. And I was shocked. I told my wife, it was sad, dude. Like how many of those were gone? You know, like there was like a whole sheet in the shit. Like there was like 3 left. And I'm like, Jesus, dude, like how many people like it kind of goes back to that consequences things I'm talking about where it's like there's no consequences. So people just act however they want, you know. But I think if people like were more, you wouldn't talk as much shit or be like behind closed doors, kind of like the podcast, right? Like you get to see who somebody is, right?
Yep.
And like a guy is going to go into a doctor's office with his wife and a newborn. And even if he's a piece of shit behind closed doors, you know, like he's going to act a certain way in front of everybody. But
He's gonna look like a good dad and a good husband and the supporting. Oh, babe, it's all good. Don't worry. By the way, you're getting a punch in the face later when we get back.
yeah, he's
Yeah.
like, is everything good, babe? The doctor turns his head and he's like, you're done. You know, like that shit
Well,
happens.
tonight's gonna be you and me in the octagon. Right? And yeah, no, it's funny, but it's not because
Yeah.
it happens, right? It happens.
Dude, it's funny though. It's not funny, but yeah, it's funny, but it's not. But it's like in America. I don't know how it was in Canada, but in like the 50s, all the movies where the guy would slap around the wife, and it was like, you should have shut your mouth. You know, you shouldn't have talked back. Why wasn't
Yeah.
dinner ready? And when he came home, and it's like now we're in this weird phase where it's like, I don't know, dude. It's just such a weird time, you know, where it's like shit's accepted or it's not. Like it's just different.
Do you remember the show Dinosaurs? Like, not the mama.
Oh yeah.
When I can't remember his name now, Ed. I think his name was Ed. When he came home from work, he expected dinner to be made and the house to be clean, and he said that every day. Well, what did you do today? How come this house isn't clean? Why isn't my dinner ready right this second? Well, I was chasing around the kids all day. Do you know what your son did? I don't care. Right. And we watched that shit. That shit was spoon fed to us all through our
Dude.
childhood, man. And now that shit would not be allowed to play on TV.
Dude, is your wife a stay-at-home mom, by the way?
She is, yeah.
Yeah. That's a cool thing. I commend you for that. My wife is too. And it's like that's a really hard thing to do in 2023, dude.
It
Like
is,
really
man.
is. But like I from the start, I was like, I don't want to put a babysitter in like my kid's life. Like just doesn't seem right, you know?
No.
One time, I guess this is good advice, but her boss at the bank told her when we were having our baby, we were having Peyton, my 5-year-old. She said, whatever you guys do, if you want to stay home, don't ever go back to work. She's like, if you go back to work or get adjusted to like to having another income on top of like mine, she's like, you'll always have to have it. And I was at first when I heard that, I was like, oh, I don't know about that, but it's true. Like you just figure it out, dude. But I feel like it's getting harder and harder for like kids to stay at home with their parents and like the homeschool push. I don't know if that's going on up in Canada, but
I'm not sure. My kid goes to school. So
does he?
yeah. Well, the youngest one's not in school yet.
Dude, it's funny though. It's like Tim Kennedy, right? He's starting like a big thing. Tim Kennedy, MMA, Green Beret guy. He's starting his own school, you know. But there's this big push. But so many people are like, dude, I can't put my wife at home. You know, like I got a mortgage to pay. But it's just crazy. Like it's crazy to see how like it's shifted, and like it is a rare thing to have like a stay-at-home mom.
So here's the thing, right? Life has become unaffordable. Buying a house is almost impossible these days, right? You know, when you have kids, you're broke anyways, right? So you know, we're not struggling. We're doing good. We can go on vacation if we want to. I take some time off to hang out, but you know, we would rather my wife raise them than someone at a daycare or, you know, something or a housekeeper or nanny or whatever you want to call them. My wife is better suited for that. Who better? So, okay. The government, back to this part, the government doesn't want people to stay at home. They want to take a parent away from the kids. They want that animosity. They want that resentment, I guess, from the children. You grow up not having a parent in the home, you're really fucking twisted up about it. You go out and you be a good little slave, right? And you go to work and you might fall into some resentment trap like drugs and alcohol and shit like that. They want you to be oppressed, right? So they they make life super unaffordable. So both parents have to be out of the home, right? Your kid barely gets to see you, right? So fuck it. Why not? You already can't buy a home. Life's already unaffordable. We do just fine. Our bills are paid. That's all that matters. Fuck
Yeah.
it. My wife is going to be there for them. She's going to be the one teaching them all their first shit. Send them off to school, sure, whatever. But when they come home, they're greeted by mom. When they wake up in the morning, they're greeted by mom. Whatever they need, mom is there to bring them that. That is their parent. And then when I come home on days off, I'm there too.
Yeah.
Like, and me being away a lot, everyone's like, "Oh, you're abandoning your children, yada yada yada. They'll never know you." I spend more time with my kids working away than I do if I was home. You know what I mean? Like, if I had to be to live the life we want to live, I'd have to be gone for a fuck ton of time, like 12 to 13 hours a day, 14 hours a day out of the home. By the time I got home, my kids would be asleep. I wake up in the morning, my kids would be asleep. My weekends, if I got one, they'd be outside playing or I'd want to relax. I'd never get to see them. This way here, I get a week off every 3 to 4 weeks. I come home 7 days straight of undivided attention with my kids. I'm not tired. Even I am, we're still hanging out. We're still doing what they want to do. And I wake up, they're there. I help put them to bed. They see me and they know I'm there. And I FaceTime as much as I can. So,
Yeah. Episode 11, dude, Bluecollar Angst, Todd Lambert talked about that, like 21 days on or whatever the schedule is, or if
yeah.
you get called out. But he said the same thing. He's like, dude, it may not seem like a lot, but he's like, you're getting like 2 hours at the end of a day to be like, hey, hi, here's dinner. Let's go to bed. Let's brush your
Yep.
teeth, go to bed. He's like, I get like a full 2 weeks sometimes of like straight time with my kids. And that was a cool perspective too. And that's why, like, the purpose of what we do, like this conversation, man, because it's like so much misinformation, like about the oil field, and just to talk a little bit more about like the stay-at-home parent stuff. It's so true, dude. Unaffordable. Like, so my work got pretty slow at the start of the year, really back in like November time, right when we found out we were pregnant. And it's funny because we were going through this like the infertility path, trying to figure out what was going on. And Zach, the guy from the start of Bluecollar Angst, that idea, kind of bouncing back off him. And he was like, dude, don't worry about it. You guys will get pregnant right when work slows down. And I was like, yeah, whatever. And no shit, that's what happened. And I remember January. So he was born July 31st on his due date. Dawson was. And I remember in January, like up until July, my wife's like, dude, are we going to be okay? Like, because work's starting to kind of pick back up, but then it's like the outlook's not the best. Like, it's so unsure right now.
Yeah.
But she's like, dude, are we going to be okay? And I just told her like, hey, I'll figure it out. Like, if I have to go do whatever I need to, I'll do, just like you, like doing the road work in the summer stuff that you were saying,
Yeah.
I'll figure it out. But yeah, dude, I don't know why it's never been an option for me. And I'm not knocking people that they have to send their wives to work. I get it, because it's like,
Yep.
it's a shitty, you're put in a corner. And like you said, they don't want you to have time with your kids. They're going to indoctrinate, and they're going to have teachers spend the majority of their day, teaching them whatever curriculum that's going to be. But yeah, it's a special thing, and it's something I'm really grateful for. I'm sure you are too.
Hell
Having my
yeah.
wife pick him up or pick Peyton up. She's starting kindergarten this year, which I'm like, oh shit,
I saw a video the other day that was like, when your kid is born, they're born with a bunch of strings that are attached to your heart, right? And every like new step or milestone, one of those strings falls off, right? And she's like, when my kid said my first word, one of the strings fell off. When my kid took their first step, one of the strings fell off. She's like, today, my kid walked into school for the first time by himself. Um, the kid had gone to school before, but it was kindergarten. Mom had to be there and kind of be, hey, everything's gonna be okay. Go, right.
Yeah.
Grade 1, or two. I can't remember which one it was, but she's like, he got out of the car, said, "Mom, I got this. You stay here," and walked his ass to the door by himself and walked in. Didn't even care. And she's like, I was not ready for that string to fall off. Right. And that was like, boom, holy shit. Right. Back to my kids being ride warriors and going on all these fucking rides. I lost a big string the other day.
Yeah, dude. Because all you can think about is, dude, what happens when they're at that level? When they can just be like, I don't need you, Dad. I can go ride by myself. You know, like that's like the shit that goes through your head, you know?
Yeah, man. Yeah. I held that little girl when she was 3 pounds. And we took her to the movie theater because all she did was sleep. So it was good. She was a preemie, and we took her to the movie theater. We have a picture. We went to go see Thor Ragnarok, and we have a picture. This kid is smaller than the Coca-Cola cup.
Dude, 3 pounds. Holy crap.
This kid is smaller than the Coke cup. And man, now I see her running, walking, saying, "I hate you."
Yeah.
Going to school.
Yeah.
Man, you know you're doing something right when your kid looks at you and says, "I fucking hate you." It hurts.
It's so true. Like, that's the only word she could have added. You know what I mean? Like, she's like, "I want new parents. I hate you." And I was like, she slams her door. She's 5. So later on that night, I pulled her back into our room and I just said, "Hey, by the way, like, we were just kind of getting ready for bed. And maybe I'm a shitty parent. Somebody's going to be like, oh my gosh, that's abuse." But I was just like helping put the diaper on the newborn on Dawson. And I said, "Oh, by the way, your new family's coming in the morning. I think you're going on a hike in the morning." And just like kind of said it nonchalant, dude. And like, I felt like a piece of shit. Like, her eyes were like, "What? Like, I'm going to a new family?" And I was like, "Yeah, like when you said you hated our family." So, but yeah, dude, it's a special thing, dude. And honestly, I hate putting a disclaimer on anything I say, but like, really, I do think about the people going through infertility, and, like you said, dude, at the beginning, I love that you said that everybody has a different like path. And just like with your daughter being born 35 weeks, right?
Yeah. 35 weeks. Yeah.
Like, how terrible that was. And then like to see somebody else with like the open heart surgery, like I think that's really, and that's like a maturing thing too, right? Like once you start to see stuff like that and be able to share that. But yeah, dude, that's a really, those are life-changing moments,
My youngest daughter got mad at my wife a couple weeks back. She ran into her room, slams the door, opens it up. "I want my dad to find a new wife," and slams the door. She's 3, man.
Oh.
And my wife told me about this, and I'm just laughing. And I was like, this kid's gonna make a great wingman someday.
Yeah.
Like, fuck yeah.
Yeah. You ever piss your wife off? She's gonna be like, "Hey, Mom, you see that guy right there?
Oh shit.
Oh.
I'm not gonna keep you too much longer here, man. I gotta call my wife too. She is 2 hours ahead right now. She's probably asleep.
Holy shit!
But
it's 10
I'm gonna wake her up. Yeah, I'm gonna wake her up. But I always end the pod with one more question here, and it usually stumps some people. So you're American, you know what Mount Rushmore is. 4 of the most influential people in American history are up there. If you could have your own Mount Rushmore with 4 people that you look up to or inspire, draw inspiration from, who would it be and why?
Oh, shoot. That is a tough question, man. When you said it, I like to think about it as like jokes just to piss people off. Like Donald Trump, Colin Powell, Condoleezza Rice, like all that.
Condoleezza? Did you call her Condoleezza or what did you call her?
It's Condoleezza, but Dave Chappelle has a bit where he's like Condoleezza Rice, Clayton Bigsby.
Okay.
I always call her Condoleezza now. I guess I would choose 4. Damn, dude, that is such a hard question. I don't know. I feel like George Washington for sure, because I think like he is the father of our country. I think Ben Franklin, because I shared a quote about him today on my Instagram. That's why. No, I'm just kidding. Because he went to France and was just literally fooling around with women. He's supposed to like get the army out here in the Navy, and he's just like in bed and in brothels. That's probably the most American thing ever. No, I'm just kidding. Damn. And then the other 2, I guess just for me, man, Mike Rowe, as silly as that sounds, Mike Rowe is pretty cool. Like to watch Dirty Jobs. I remember watching Dirty Jobs as a kid. And I think one was like a septic tank or a sewer. He had to go clean out like a sewer clog in New York. And watching shit like that, being like, oh, there's a job like for everything. Like there's a purpose. There's somebody that has to do everything. So I would say Mike Rowe. And then I would just say a last one, dude, for me. Probably Tyler Sassy right now, Western Welding Academy. He's been super gracious, tagging me in reels and coming on the podcast, dude, talking to him and, some of his experiences. And it's all the same stuff we talk about, man. Like the Jocko Willink books and Ed Milet, just like being better, being a good human. He talked about, you don't think the world's in a bad place right now. Try to go to the gas station and buy a bag of Cheetos, And I was like, holy shit, dude. Like, it was just so profound. But yeah, those would probably be my 4. Ben Franklin, not because of the whores, but because of all the inventions he did. So disclaimer for the wife right there.
Oh, wife, yeah, I was just joking. Shit. I guess, I'm actually going to ask this one for the first time. 4 is 4 good to say? 4 podcasts that you currently are listening to that you would suggest others listen to, and I'll give you my 4 because I just discovered some good ones over the last little bit.
I would say I like Joe Rogan. I'm not knocking him at all. Like when I said he interviews like the famous people, I think he gets the real side out of it, like the Kennedy episode that he put out a few weeks ago. So Rogan, and then I would say Jocko Podcast. Jocko Podcast is just, it's cool. Like, even though I never served in the military, it's not just about like a patriotism, but really about like the military, like discipline and just life principles. I love the Tim Ferriss show. Tim Ferriss is another really good one that I've always loved. And then I think it's still called the Adam Carolla Show, but that's just one. That was my first podcast, dude, that I ever listened to. So yeah, I'd say those 4.
Nice. I recently got hooked on the Real AF podcast with whatever his name is there.
Andy.
Yeah, Andy. Shout out to Greg Ryder, actually, for putting me onto that one. Andy Frisilla, that's right. Real AF, they don't really dig too, like, they talk conspiracy theory, but like they're real about it, where they're like, hey, I'm putting on my tinfoil hat right now, and like, it's probably not this way, but like this is how I feel about it.
Like people aren't really lizards, but like like the people that really get deep into it, yeah.
Yeah. You know who Jordan Peterson is?
Yeah.
So Andy Frisilla. Andy Frisilla would be like Jordan Peterson, but less black and white. Right. I don't mind Peterson. I don't really listen to him all that much, but I've listened to a couple episodes where, okay, the topic of the conversation was what drew me in. And then the History of the 90s podcast is really fun. Go check that out. Kathy Kanzora, she's, everything 90s, news stories from the 90s that, really cool shit. The Second Act podcast with my boy Gord, with my boy Gord Kitelly. I don't know how you say his last name. He was on my podcast. I listen to his all the time. He lives close to me. Nice. And my new listen in my ears, the Bluecollar Angst Podcast. So yeah, dude, add that to the playlist.
I'd add one book if I could say one more thing. Ed Milet, The Power of One More. I think he started a podcast too, by the way. But dude, Ed Milet, I love everything he has to say. Like he talks about like he was just like us, dude. And then like this Power of One More, that book. I listen to a ton of audiobooks too. So sometimes I don't get to the podcast as much as I would like.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude. Power of
I'll
One
check
More.
that out. I'll check that out. The Power of One More.
Yeah.
I'll check that out. Hey, where can people buy that hat? Where can I buy that hat?
Eventually, I'll send you one, dude. Eventually, bluecollarangst.com is going to go live. Well, it's live right now. Probably looks like shit. But yeah, bluecollarangst.com is going to have a shop, and I'm working on it. I'm working on securing, the leather patches, and then working with different hat companies, dude. So I'll get you in touch with the patch guy because he makes some sick patches. Dark Horse Apparel is pretty damn good company.
I'll check that out for sure, man. Hey, thanks for coming on, man. I really appreciate it. You know, I don't know if you feel this way, but I get really excited come podcast record night. You know, when I hit record, I'm nervous all the way through, but I'm having a good time. It's not a bad nervous. It's not like,
Yeah.
oh, you know, it's fun. I get really excited about it still. We're gonna be almost 40 episodes in here. Still excited.
Nice.
And then, you know, podcast release day every Tuesday. I'm like counting down the hours until it drops. It drops at 5 p.m. on Tuesdays, and I'm counting down the hours, and I'm super excited on podcast release days, and I hope that's something I never lose. I hope
Yeah.
that passion remains always. So far, so good. Almost 40 episodes deep. So,
dude, you're doing a damn good job. It's cool, and thank you for having me on, dude. To be the guest on somebody's show, you know, not to be the one driving everything. Which it's cool. You have such a laid back atmosphere, which I try to do with my show too. You know, like we can just talk. You know, it's not this interview; it's just a conversation. So
yeah,
you're doing a damn good job, dude. I love it.
When I get people on and I'm like, okay, interview questions. What do I got to ask these people? What do I got to ask them? And I'm like, no. Okay, we've never done that before. Stop it. And I do that to myself all the time. Like, hey, we're not interviewing. We're having a conversation, right? Yeah. And then, you know, it just happens to be like interview type questions along the way, right? And so I really got to like slap myself sometimes when I get thinking like, okay, well, you know, especially with someone who's a bigger guest. Well, okay, like how do we navigate this, right? And you just you hit start, you hit go live, you hit record, and you just let it go.
Yeah.
Right. You know, and yeah.
That's the nervousness part of it, you know, like you don't know what it's going to do. You're opening up that box, right? You're opening up the box and you're trying to get into people's lives. But yeah, I love it too. And if I could just say one more thing, it's going through August 31st. Well, I guess this will probably be released later than that, but
still a little bit.
Still go check it out, guys. See who the winner is for this giveaway that I kind of talked about today. And this is just the start. There's going to be some cool things, hopefully maybe down the road, a foundation to really keep the ball rolling on helping these younger kids get into the trade. So, but I appreciate you, man. Seriously, thank you for having me on. It's been a blast.
Well, I appreciate you for coming on, man. And yeah, thank you. This has been amazing. So
yeah.
Hey, David, Davey. I don't know. What do you like being called?
Coke. Last name.
Coke.
Coke.
Coke. Hey, Coke. You stay frosty.
Later.